Well, basically have a comment because I'm really upset that these national pundits are taking shots at Coach Lincoln Riley at USC over NIL, and the recruiting process.
Mhm.
And there's basically three basic points that I want to make. Point number one is that USC academically is a lot tougher. Let's be honest. It's ranked 8th in the nation. Only Notre Dame at 20th and Michigan at 21 ranked higher than USC among the top 25 football schools. And we're tied with Penn State. So first of all, academically, USC is more challenging. Okay, the mission standards are tougher and it's harder to graduate. Number two is the fact that NIL, the NIL, what people don't understand is that in California, if you get $500,000 in NIL money in California, you got to pay about $285,000 in taxes. Whereas in Texas and other states, you don't have to pay taxes. So we're at a disadvantage because we would have to offer a recruit $725,000 to equal a $500,000 NIL that's offered by Texas or Alabama or those other schools because their tax rate is a lot lower. And the third point is that's also very important is that we need to focus on the schools that are here locally. And unfortunately, a lot of the youngsters are trying to, they're going for the money and they're going to schools like Oregon. But the quality of education isn't the same. And the fact of the matter is, let's be honest, very few players from Oregon even make it to the NFL. We have a larger percent of players that make it to the NFL. So that says that our development is better. Throughout the years, SC's development program to the NFL has been superior to Oregon and many of the other schools. So that's with my comments, guys. I'd like to hear comments. Thank you.
Great comments. Okay, we'll start with the first one. You talked about academics. I joke around all the time with my dad that there's no way I would get into USC these days. Like, matter of fact, I'm almost certain of it, just the academic standards. Caller, hang on one second. And my dad's probably joking. He would have got in, but I wouldn't have got in. But we can't sit back and talk about academics. I mean, there's schools across the country. Notre Dame is one that sticks out that have academic. UCLA has academic standards that are high. It is what it is. These are colleges that are playing football, Matt. I know your thoughts on the academic things, but we can't sit and talk about how great our academics are and then start complaining about how hard it is. We have issues. I agree. There are certain situations. I know that Eric Musselman was talking about how he wanted to get some of those guys to come over from Arkansas, and he had a look at, well, you can only take grad transfers and guys, maybe your freshmen and sophomore, because of the transfer units, etc. There were issues getting guys into USC. He didn't know. So there are some hurdles, but I'm not going to sit here and say we're Stanford, but I also know that we're not, Arizona State. We're not going to let anyone in with a pulse. So there is a lot to be said for academics. I think you said earlier about the taxes. They still got to pay federal taxes, which is the majority of that amount. So regardless of Texas or Arizona, New Jersey, a number of states that have no state income tax, that's across the board. That's fine. But you still got to pay your federal taxes. And if people are that short-sighted that they're gonna, that they're not gonna come and get developed by Coach Henderson, or they're not gonna come play quarterback for Lincoln Riley, or if they're not gonna play I don't think that's gonna be an issue. I think anybody with their head screwed on right is gonna say, look, this NIL stuff's great. It's fun money till I get into the NFL, but the NFL is where I'm really making my money. And do I want to roll the dice on getting a bunch of money up front, like you said, Angel, and go to a school that does not produce, say Oregon producing wide receivers, right? They had one, but one of the greatest receivers in their history went Matt, 5th round, or when did I'm blanking on his name. See how quickly you forget. Duck receivers. But I mean, it's not like you're going to make a quick decision. You have to. It is an impediment, but it should not keep USC from getting players. Matt, what are your thoughts on the tax situation and academics?
Well, I don't know for a fact, why these decommits keep occurring. But if it's true that the decommits, they make a commitment and then, they calculate their taxes and then, maybe I won't commit. Maybe I'll decommit. I mean, I kind of find it hard to think that is actually happening. But, behind the scenes, if something is happening, then the people at USC need to be on it. It's as simple as that. But I don't think it's happening. Like, I mean, you would think that if guys are committing to USC, they're doing those tax calculations before they make a commitment, and you'd think that would go into their decision. Maybe it's not happening, but again, I'm skeptical. Like, I don't think like they're typing numbers into a calculator and going, I'm not getting as much money after taxes. I think I'll decommit and go to an SEC school. I kind of find it hard to think that's actually happening.
Yeah, agreed. And then academics are just academics. USC gets in the guys they want to get in there. There's some issues sometimes, but it's not like USC is Stanford. Our academic standards are not that stringent. Maybe when it comes to transfers, that might cause some trouble, maybe. But as far as getting kids from high school, USC, to my understanding, standards are not lofty. Let's put it that way.
Well, piggybacking off your recruiting thing, I mean, I would just say, first of all, at the type of NIL dollars they're trying to get, they need to worry about federal taxes. Going to take a bigger chunk than state taxes. That should be the least of their worries. I mean, they're trying to get all this money in NIL. The feds are going to take the biggest chunk. And this in-state income tax stuff it's a scam. Or to me, it's a facade, because you go to Texas, no state income tax, but they're going to hit you on those property taxes. They have some of the highest property taxes in the nation. So these states that say no income tax, they're going to hit you somewhere else with that same tax. I've seen it because I have family in some of these states that don't signal these no income tax states. They're getting hit with taxes other places that we're not getting hit. And so, I mean, it just all sounds good. But and then another thing I'll just say about all these commitments, and what are people going to realize? Like, NIL and money is now officially involved in the game. So we keep saying like these what is an 18-year-old going to do? How come this 18-year-old changing their mind? It's not them. The people kept forgetting there's a whole group of adults behind these kids who are probably, some of them, not all of them, but probably thinking for themselves more than these kids. So they have adults in the room who are probably chasing the money themselves and telling these kids where to go. Because, they're still young. I mean, 17, 18, they don't have all the answers. So it's not them. I really don't believe it's these 18-year-olds that saying, I want to decommit. There are adults, and some of these guys have agents now who are behind them, who are pushing them to do all this stuff. I really believe it goes bigger than just some 18-year-old saying, I want to come here. I mean, who knows? Some of these guys have agents. Who knows the agents say, hey, commit to USC at this moment. Let Georgia get worried, offer this much money, decommit, and now you got your money. Like, all this is probably going on right now because of the Wild Wild West. I'm sure it's bigger behind the scenes than what people are just looking at. Who's committing? Who's decommitting? I mean, once money gets involved, it's a whole different ballgame. I mean, that's basically all I want to say. What do you guys think?
No, I'm gonna stick by what I'm saying. If you're coming to USC for margins, for $30,000 more or $60,000 more in NIL money, then you're right. Maybe USC is not the place for you. I mean, there's always going to be Texas A&M, Oregon, and Miami, Ohio State that are going to have a lot of money. Now, I'm hearing that USC is fully funded, big numbers. I'm not going to throw the numbers out that I've heard, but there is an issue with the way they're structured in NIL. I'm not going into it that much at this point, but there's a reason why USC is selling development. And with the USC system on both sides, right? You have Henderson on defensive line, coaching guys up there. You've got Coach Entz and Doug Belk. And there's a reason why they brought in all these guys with all this experience to get guys and tell them, listen, we're going to develop you. We're going to teach you the fundamentals. And when you have guys on the offensive side, like, I don't know, Lincoln Riley coaching quarterbacks, being a wide receiver in this system, if you have any talent, you're going to put up numbers. You're going to go to the NFL. It's all about development, and they're probably selling NFL, and that's what it is. There's two parts to it, you guys. When the money train comes, it's NIL, so that's your play fun money when you're in college. But really, you're going to USC not to be going to economics. Well, some are, but majority you want to major in NFL. And if you're coming to SC and you're going to get developed to go to the NFL, you're looking at your coaching. Matt, what are your thoughts?
Well, as I continue to watch these inane recruiting stories. And I'm not talking about the kids being inane. I'm just talking about the absurdity of these stories themselves. I keep going back to the point that, why do kids make commitments when they're still visiting other schools? Like that inherently contradicts the whole notion of a commitment. If you're still visiting other schools, you shouldn't be making a commitment. And we shouldn't have this dog and pony show where it seems as though some of these kids just make quote unquote commitments like they're trying on a new suit, to see how it fits, to see how it feels. And 3 months later, if it doesn't really feel right, or if they get a bigger NIL offer, they're out the door. And I would like to see this process be changed such that, you get to visit as many schools as you'd like. And then when you're done, you make a decision. Like we're not preventing you from making a decision. We're not denying you freedom of choice. Just visit all your damn schools and then decide. But what we have now, and let's be clear, some people might say, oh, you're just whining because it's USC on the short end of the stick. No, USC could get a guy who decommitted from UCF, and that guy who decommitted from UCF decommitted from an SEC school a few months earlier. Like, this is happening everywhere. Like, I'm going to commit in January, and then I'm going to decommit in April, and I'm going to go somewhere else, and then I'm going to decommit from there in June. Like, you're seeing guys decommit 2-3 months apart several times in a year, in a cycle. Come on, this is stupid. This is a waste of everyone's time. And one of the things that I've seen in the chat, I think it was AZ Wedo, WEDO.
Yeah, I started that.
These guys are using USC as leverage. I think that's probably true to a certain point. Like, oh, I'm committed to USC. And then you get the interest from outside, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State trying to flip. I think there's something to that. I'm not going to say that's universally true, but I'm sure it's true to a point. And we all know, I think we can all say with confidence that Isaiah Rakes definitely used USC because he exploited that SEC transfer playing time rule. I mean, I would like to see some governance, getting rid of these loopholes. But while these loopholes have not yet been closed, I would like to see the USC staff say, hey, don't use us as leverage. Don't use us as, your instrument for manipulating or engineering the process. Like, there has to be a way of saying, you know what, we don't want your verbal commitment unless you're going to sign. There has to be a better way of doing this. There has to be a better way.
It's just the way it's been done forever, though. That's how you build classes. You build momentum. You build other kids.
And I hate that. That's one of my worst things. This is how it's always been done. We got to get rid of it.
I don't like it. Okay, what has to be done is they got to tighten up the rules on these transfer back and forth, the transfer windows, how often you could transfer, etc. I think that's all going to be ironed out as this thing becomes more and more professional, with more and more almost like contracts being written. And I don't know how they do it. I know they want to keep their nonprofit status, and therefore making guys employees probably is going to happen, profit sharing, whatever they do. But whatever they give, like we know in any kind of a contract or anything, if you receive stuff, the players right now are getting all the rights. At some point, in order to get what they want to get, they're going to have to give something back. And I think that's when a lot of this stuff's going to start getting sorted out. I don't know if it happens, if it has to be a conference level thing that it happens at, because the NCAA is worthless.
I just want to say, providing just a few guardrails does not mean players are suddenly being deprived of their rights. You can transfer, you can commit, you get to make your choice. Just a few parameters.
Commit for 1 year at a time.
Just a few little parameters. That's all. It's a modest proposal. It's a crust of bread.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. Thank you so much for calling in. Great idea, great topic. I'm sure we're going to continue to talk about this stuff, today and throughout the weeks until finally we somehow get this figured out. Thanks, Dan.